Is there anyone in the queue still not admitted to join us? Waiting for Mohammed Salem to join.
Muhammad, there is some questions coming on the chat.
Okay.
Maybe we will tell them we will reply to all the questions at the end.
Let's mute all better.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me now? Hello?
I think we can start, Mohammed. The Salem has joined.
Okay.
We have about 10 attendees. So,
Hello, Mohammed Salem.
Hi, Muhammad. I can hear you.
Yes. Okay, let's wait for 1 minute to for other attendees, and then we can start our session.
Sure thing. Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining the call with us today. So I'm here from VMware, and we have also Majid Halish, the pre-sales, like the account pre-sales for Kuwait. So thank you, Majid, also for joining the call.
My pleasure, Mohammed. Thank you very much for having me as well and for taking the time to present our Tanzu portfolio.
Thank you, Majid. Mohammed, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yeah,
can you
sure.
make me a host?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, looks good.
Very good. So whenever you are ready, guys, just let me know.
I think now, Mohammed, you can start, not to waste any time from this first session, because there is another session with Mr. Badr for Roomcast. You can start.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Muhammad, and thank you, VMUG Kuwait team for hosting me today. So my name is Mohammed Salem. I'm a lead solution engineer at VMware. I'm currently based in Dubai, but Kuwait is always close to my heart. I've been covering Kuwait and Bahrain for a year and a half, actually, and then I handed over this role to Majid, who joined us today on the call. So thank you a lot for attending this call. So the purpose of this session is to give you an overview about what VMware Tanzu is all about. Like, this is kind of a new vertical that we are now mastering, and also like start or end the session with a demo around how to bring Tanzu, or how to be able to host Kubernetes on your vSphere that you are running today. So Tanzu is more than just running Kubernetes, but I think the best thing to start with your Tanzu journey is to start by adopting some Kubernetes workloads. So this is the purpose of this session. So how to run vSphere with Tanzu mainly. So let's kick off this. So if we're gonna first look at the CNCF cloud native landscape, so you will see that there are more than 200 vendors. All of them are giving you different solutions to meet different functionalities. So if you're gonna look at this kind of landscape, that this image, I get this from the CNCF landscape. You can get this as well, like from this website. And you will be able to see all of these kind of different vendors. And all these vendors are offering so many solutions. And these solutions could work for you. Like maybe you are working in banking sector. Maybe one of these tools with perfect fit for your application, while someone else perhaps working in oil and gas, edge sites and all of this will have different sets of application. So there was no kind of uniform application set or tool set that all the people who would like, or all the developers who would like to make use of the cloud native approach would just agree on. Everyone will have his own set, and everyone will have his own criteria to evaluate these different sets, which is very difficult, because I remember when I started the journey, let's say back in 2017 or 2016, this landscape was not as huge as it is now. And I can promise you, I can tell you that next year, if we're going to look at this landscape again, you will see so many applications being added. You will see so many tools being added, and perhaps different categories added as well. Not just tools, so maybe different categories added, these kind of big blocks. So when we talk about Tanzu, we are dealing with specific tools out of this. So what we have done is that based on our software, based on what we have worked with different customers across the globe, and based on Muhammad, just sorry for that. Like, I'll let you take care of admitting people to the session. So like there are some, I think, people are trying to join. So I'll just keep you taking care of this.
Okay.
Because I just received it.
Yes, yes, sure.
On the screen. Yeah. So we have like working with so many customers, and based on what we have today in our portfolio, we are mapping this also to the CNCF landscape. So one of the common questions I always hear from our customers when I go for a meeting talking about Tanzu, how is this close or far when we talk about open source technology? So if a customer wants to use Prometheus, for instance, for his monitoring stack, if a customer would like to use Greenplum, Irani, whatsoever, how all of these tools that we are having under Tanzu or branded VMware Tanzu, how they fit this kind of portfolio? And the answer in this is this slide. VMware Tanzu landscape or VMware Tanzu portfolio is well based on the landscape or the CNCF landscape. So we have taken so many tools, we have worked in so many tools, and these tools is based on the base layer, I would say, that on top of it, we built our Tanzu portfolio. So speaking of which, like we have Photon. If you heard about Photon, Photon has been one of the OSs that VMware has been developing for so long time. And now if you are running a recent version of vCenter, I think like 6.5 onward, you will see that the VCSA or the vCenter server appliance is running Photon. So you already using this. Same goes for some of the NSX components. If you are running NSXT, same goes for so many other, like when we talk about Tanzu, all these kind of images that use it to deploy the Kubernetes clusters are also built on Photon. If you're going to talk about Antrea, Antrea is more of cloud native or cloud networking interface, a CNI that you can use inside your Kubernetes cluster, completely open source and completely developed by VMware, along with so many other tools. Like, I'm not going to spend time talking about each one of these, but the key message of this slide is that we try to tell you that you are on the right path. You're investing here with a good vendor, a vendor like VMware, who is adopting these kind of new vertical for the modern application. And we are also 100% compliant with the CNCF landscape. So everything is open source, everything is easy to be developed, and everything, like, you can submit issues and everything on GitHub, like most of the open source tools. I'm not sure what is this. Do you see that this error, right?
Yeah, it's showing on the screen.
Okay, let me just stop sharing. I'll just try to quit. Okay, application not responding. Just a moment. Sorry for that, guys. Not expected. Let's give it a try. Do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the Tanzu portfolio is all about? Tanzu portfolio is all about the developer, how you can modernize your application. And it's not just about running Kubernetes, as I mentioned at the beginning. It's more of a comprehensive stack that will take you through 3 main pillars: how to build your software, how to run your software or your code, and how to manage this. So if we're going to talk about the builds, let's talk this as kind of a journey. So you are a developer today, you're going to write your code. Your code could be based on Java, your code could be based on Kotlin, on Node.js, .NET, whatsoever application. We do support this, and we do help you to adopt this. Mainly at VMware, we do support Spring framework, and this was something we acquired with the acquisition of Pivotal, but we do also support other frameworks. If you have .NET, if you have Node.js, if you have any other programming languages, we 100% support this. And the way we support this is that we are talking you through a journey. So we have so many tools that will help you to do so. So starting with Tanzu application service for Kubernetes, if you're aware of some other tools that we acquired, like back in the days, if you have ever worked in Cloud Foundry, so there was Pivotal who made this Cloud Foundry kind of commercial product, and they have the Pivotal application service, which is now Tanzu application service. So Tanzu application service is a tool that will help you as a developer to take your code all the way from a source code, deploy it all the way to Kubernetes. Like, take all of this source code, find the load balancer, available hosts, everything related to SSL configuration, everything related to, let's say, green-blue kind of deployment, if you know this kind of terminologies. This is going to be Tanzu application service for Kubernetes. It is still in beta. The version available now is a Tanzu application service for VMs. So this is available now if you would like to test or like to go with the product. And this is based on Cloud Foundry. So if you're going to search now, Google, what is Cloud Foundry, you'll find so many documentations to guide you through this. Tanzu build service, it's not beta. This slide is a bit outdated, but Tanzu build service is mainly around taking your source code. Let's say today that I'm a developer, I'm going to write my code in Java. So what do I need to have in my laptop? I need to have some tools like Maven, perhaps Gradle. I need to have Java installed to create this or to run these kind of jar files that Maven is going to generate, or the artifacts. What if I have another tool or another programming language? I need to download also some other tools. Tanzu build service is running on a concept very important called CNB, or Cloud Native Buildbacks. So the CMB or Cloud Native Buildbacks will allow you to take all this code and find out all the languages that is being, or all the libraries that this code will require, and it will inject it in the code without the need to have this running in your local laptop. And the way it works is that it will generate at the end a Docker image, and this Docker image can then be integrated into your CI/CD pipeline, can be deployed directly in Kubernetes, can be monitored for commit digest or something if you would like to like re-trigger the build upon every commit to your source repo. So this is Tanzu Build Service. It's now G8. It's being sold as a standalone product and also as part of Tanzu Advanced. I'll just like go through this real quick because I think the piece that we need to focus on is the piece here, which is the run, not the build, honestly, for the sake of this session, just because we have kind of limited time. So I will just try to go through this real quick, and I will arrange with Majid and Muhammad perhaps to schedule another session to go through this in more details. So jumping to the last piece here, Tanzu Application Catalog. Tanzu Application Catalog, think of it as, let's say today that you are a developer and you would like to deploy a web tier. What do you need else other than the web tier? You need a full stack, and this full stack will require perhaps some databases. This full stack will require, I just do not want to use the full stack terminology because this might be like kind of monolith service. This is not my purpose here. Let's say that I have a web tier and this web tier is containerized. I would like also to have a database, which could be containerized. So I'm going to go to Docker Hub. I'm going to search maybe for MySQL. I'll find south and then south and then south of MySQL containers uploaded there. Are they going to be the best containers for me to use or not? This is going to be a difficult question. This is going to be different from someone to another. So for me now, I'm using it perhaps for my home use. It's going to be perfect fit for me. But if we are talking about enterprises, enterprises also would like to apply some security principles. They would like to apply some configuration perhaps on these image that host the workloads. So let's say that I want to have a MySQL container, but this container will be deployed in a base image that have my CA perhaps, that have some kind of SSL configuration, that have some kind of special hardening for the image as part of the security policy that your company may be following. So this is what Tanzu Application Catalog is all about. We acquired Bitnami, and with the acquisition of Bitnami, we have more than 180,000 containers or application being developed by our developers. Like this, just the artifacts have been published to the internet, could be consumed from AWS, from Azure, from Google Cloud, or even on-prem vSphere. What we have done with Bitnami acquisition, that we took the extra step and we said, Mr. Customer, you may need to deploy these specific applications on your own base images. So we're going to help you with this. And this is the idea of Tanzu Application Catalog. So we are providing you with more of curated images that will be hosted or deployed on your base image that meets all your security requirements. And you can subscribe to some of these images, perhaps that maybe in your enterprise, you are consuming Redis a lot, you're consuming MySQL a lot, you're consuming any other cloud native application a lot, and you would like just to have this. So Tanzu Application Catalog will be best fit for you. And if you look at the big cycle of the build, you will need this, right? So if I'm writing a code for, let's say, developing a banking application, and I would like just to update the UI of my mobile application, perhaps, the database will always remain the same, like database where you have all the banking information, all the customer information, all of this, it will remain the same, but I will deploy more and more and more of iterations, or let's say updates to the code. So definitely this is what your developer is going to focus on, just update this code. He would like to consume the database whenever he wants to test this code. So this is something that Tanzu Application Catalog could be perfectly fit.
Sorry, Muhammad,
for.
Can you admit the attendees for the session as you are the host?
So Rami, yeah, I'm just admitting them. I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
Muhammad, if you can also make Majid, the host if possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll leave this to you. So when we talk about the run, so now we're done with the builds. We're going to talk now about the run. The run, think of it as running Kubernetes. And we are not telling you that you're going to run Kubernetes on vSphere, or it's a must to be running on vSphere. You can run it on vSphere. You can run Kubernetes if you have VCF, which is more of a bigger vSphere with all the great components that make this kind of SDDC in a box. So let's say that if you like, how often you guys like deal with VCF? Do you know VCF? Like, I know Kuwait is very great example of having most of the customers running vSphere, and thank you for that. But have you guys like here worked on VCF before, deployed VCF before? I just would like to like make it kind of more interactive session. So just tell me what do you think about this? Even if you're gonna write it in the chat, it's fine. I'm gonna check the chat here. Okay. Okay, let's take this another way. How many of you have ever used Kubernetes? How many of you have ever deployed a Kubernetes cluster, run some workload in Kubernetes? You can unmute yourself and speak up. We'll be more than happy to hear you.
I tried one time with for preparing for the CKA.
Great. And what was the distribution you used? Like which Kubernetes?
The basic one. The basic one for preparing the CKA.
Okay, very good. Any like, do you think like you've been in the Kuwait market for quite some time? How do you see the, and Majid as well, like give me your inputs, guys. How do you see this gonna resonate with the Kuwait market? So I've worked with Kuwait market for some time, and I see there are lots of potential to start to modernizing their application in so many sectors, like, or so many verticals. How do you see this, guys? Like, if we have someone from a customer side here on the call with us, it would be great to share his experience as well.
Hi, Muhammad. How are you? How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Well, actually, I'm working in the banking sector here in Kuwait, and we usually depend. It's totally depending on the application that the vendor is coming and bring it up to our environment. For example, recently we have started to see some vendors, maybe one or two, are offering the Docker containers in our site, and they started to just deploy applications, creating one big VM for them on the VMware, and then started to deploy their applications on it. But to be honest with you, I don't know. I just have the idea that it's totally depending on the application side more than to the customer side.
I fully agree with you. So the way that this is gonna work, I think, and again, like I may say that Middle East is a bit late compared to the wave that happened in the rest of the world, like 4 or 5 years ago. So let's say how it's gonna be driven, right? So maybe today you're gonna go to vendor X and you're gonna tell them, hey guys, we would like to have, let's say, upgrade our VMs. Like we have now VMs of a specific database, for instance, and these VMs are running perfectly for you. But you might find these vendors telling you, sorry, we're gonna drop the support for the VMs and we're gonna provide you support for containers now, because most of the customers we deal with are using containers and this is gonna be the future. So let's start by using containers. That could be one of the drivers, by the way, for you, that this is what we are calling COTS or commercial off the shelf. So you're just gonna go to this vendor and you're gonna buy the license, same way you're gonna buy it for running this application on a virtual machine, but the runtime, and that time, like the runtime will not be ESXi or a Linux server. Perhaps it would be a Kubernetes cluster. And with that idea in mind, like you would be able then, like you have to develop some skills in order to be able to deal with this kind of new entrant to your data center. So you will have to develop some skills to understand how to have the availability in your Kubernetes compared to the vCenter, how you can have some of the exotic features that all our customers are using in the vCenter, how they can move this to Kubernetes, given the fact that Kubernetes is kind of orchestration tool, and I can say also vCenter is kind of orchestration tool for the VMs. So all of these features you will start to explore. And this is, I think, the best way if you just gonna like be waiting to see how your application would go. But some other customers, you know, like dealing with different customers in the region, some other customer would just prefer, okay, like let's see how it works. I'm gonna put the laptop, I'm gonna read about Kubernetes, start deploying my own cluster, and start to get some deployments up and running and see how to bring it all up. So this is two different approaches, and it's good because eventually your learning curve is gonna get higher and higher by time, and you will learn some new technologies here. And I think, like my humble opinion, again, I'm not that a big expert on that, but my humble opinion that, and according to some studies as well, that by 2025, you will see that the workload VMs versus containers, it could reach 50-50. Again, maybe not in this region, but it will evolve a lot. So Kubernetes is going to evolve a lot. Kubernetes is going to dominate. Kubernetes is going to eat the market from so many, let's say, old school technologies that we can see in the market today. So I can tell you from the experience I have with the banking sector here in the UAE, at least, there are lots of development being done. There are lots of developers now being hired to be able to run these kind of new workload and be able to run like the developer mindset, you know, like how this kind of DevOps and how to manage this environment, how to manage this kind of Kubernetes clusters, whether you're going to have them hosted on vSphere perhaps, or any other vendor, or hosted on the clouds. It's going to be challenging to manage all of this. And I think one of our unique proposition of Tanzu is that we help you throughout the whole journey. So if you would like to run this on vSphere, definitely we have a solution. If you would like to run this on the clouds, we have definitely a solution as well. And if you would like to run them on like VMware, other vendors, clouds, we have a solution also to manage all of these fleet of Kubernetes clusters. So thank you, Nawar, for sharing your experience. And it completely matches what I've seen with other customers in the region. So thank you for that. So speaking about the run here, what we are calling for the run is Tanzu Kubernetes Grid. And we have here two offerings. I would say two main offerings. We have VCF with Tanzu and we have vSphere with Tanzu. So when we started initially our offering, we started with VCF with Tanzu. So the VCF was kind of mandatory to deploy your own Kubernetes stack. But now just with vSphere, like even if you don't have VCF, when I asked about VCF, who's using VCF, no one answered. I assume you guys are not using VCF. I assume you're using vSphere. So if you're using vSphere now with the VTS that you might be running in your vSphere cluster, you will be able to deploy Kubernetes. You will be able to get all the features of Kubernetes, like load balancer, defined service, ingress, all these kind of exotic features of Kubernetes. You can get this from your vSphere cluster. And this is going to be the main focus point that I will talk about for the rest of the presentation. Just for the sake of these slides, just to cover everything, the managed portfolios around the Tanzu Service Mesh. So Tanzu Service Mesh is more of concept of a service mesh, which means connect all your workloads regardless of where they are. So let's say that you have some Kubernetes clusters running in Kuwait, on vSphere clusters in Kuwait, and perhaps some other clusters running in UAE or running on AWS or GCP or Azure. How you can connect all of these clusters together, how you can make sure that the communications between all these clusters are being secure, perhaps a mutual TLS is applied, perhaps some traffic distribution or load balancing policies will be applied to distribute traffic, perhaps some to GCP, some to AWS, and some to vSphere. Different policy. Let's say it's another product based on, as of now, it's based on Istio, but later on we are considering also some other tools like Linkerd, like Console from HashiCorp. So many tools we are considering for this. So it's a very good product also to watch. Tanzu Mission Control, like I mentioned, it's a product that will allow you to manage a fleet of Kubernetes clusters. Think of it that today I may start with 1 cluster, tomorrow 2 clusters, perhaps in 1 week 5 clusters. In a year from now, maybe I will go with 500 clusters. How can I apply a simple policy change in one of these clusters? Unfortunately, you will have to go to every one of them and apply the policy, which is not very effective. The way that Tanzu Mission Control works is that it will communicate with all of these clusters, and then from a single interface, you will be able to apply a single policy and propagate it to all the clusters, regardless of where these clusters, guys. So if these clusters in AWS, in GCP, on Azure, vSphere, wheresoever, you can apply these policies from a single interface, and this policy is compliant with, let's say, OPA or Gatekeeper, if you would like to have OPA policy, if you would like to have image policy, if you would like to have egress network policy, all of this can be applied from a single interface. And Tanzu Observability, that's also another great monitoring tool. So think of the Kubernetes workload, which is completely different from the VMs, right? So you can create a VM, and the life cycle of this VM will be minimum 1 day. like you can delete it later, but we expect the minimum life cycle of the VM to be 1 day. If we are talking about bots, the average life cycle of bots could be like 5 minutes. So you need a tool to be able to monitor these kind of different workloads. And this tool is going to be Tanzu Observability. So it's also something really great to watch for. And Tanzu Observability also can monitor your application. So if you have your source code, you can inject like 2 block of lines in your source code, and that application will be registered with Tanzu Observability by Wavefront, and you will be able to monitor the application from there. So it's definitely a great product to check. I would say this could be scheduled for a later session as well. And the team that can help you to work on the whole life cycle of your development, team that can teach you so many good things about how the DevOps culture could work in your environment, how to have these kind of concepts, who's owning the product, like the product owner, the product manager, the developers, the UI developers, the UX developer, all of these different tools, along with helping you also to develop your codes. This is going to be the team that is responsible for these type of services, let's say. It's called Vivital Labs Services. And this team, if you are keeping an eye during this very difficult time that we're all in, like the pandemic time and the COVID-19, this team helped NHS in the UK to release their tracing application. So when you are in the UK, there is NHS application that will check whether you have been in contact with someone who has been tested positive for Corona. Our team, Vivital Labs, proudly developed these applications. So they can help you with whatever journey you would like to have for your application and for your foreseen development goals. I'm just gonna skip this a bit quick, and now we're gonna talk about the vSphere with Kubernetes. So let's talk about the challenges. What are challenges that most of the developers might have today? So for me as a developer, I need to have easy access to the resources I want. So let's say I'm a developer today, I want to test a new code, and this code is going to be running on containers. I would like to have a Kubernetes cluster to test this. I would like to have access to perhaps GPU if my code will require some AI machine learning workloads. I would like to be able to run function as a service. I would like to run this kind of OpenFast or Knative kind of workloads. While for you as an IT operator, for you to give you a Kubernetes, I'm going to give you, let's say, 3 Linux VMs, and you can deploy Kubernetes on top of this and start to work on this. So this kind of method was not agile. There's also another very important concept here that for you as an operator, you would like to have kind of even basic knowledge of what the developer is working. So if the developer today is coming and say that I need a database and I need 3 Linux VMs with these specs, you will not be able, or you will not be having visibility to know what's being deployed inside these VMs. If he's going to deploy Kubernetes clusters, you will not be having visibility to check what workload is deployed there. And I think this is the challenge we have seen over the past like 2 to 3 years. What we have helped you with vSphere, with Kubernetes, is that we are bridging the gap between the developer and the VI admin. How we are doing this? We are doing this by making the developer and the VI admin consuming the same APIs, which is the vCenter APIs in that case. So for you as a developer, what you're gonna log in to in order to get access to your Kubernetes cluster, you're gonna be logged into the vCenter. Not the same, like not in the exact same way UI, you will just get one of the IPs, but this IP will be for the VMs hosted in your ESXi cluster or the vSphere cluster, and you will then be able to like switch from vCenter APIs or vSphere APIs to the kubectl or the Kubernetes APIs. So for you as a developer, you will have access to a Kubernetes cluster. You will be able to deploy whatever workload you would like to have. You will be able to make use of the networking service, which I'm going to spend some time speaking about. You will be able to make use of the storage service offered by the vCenter and vSphere. And that will help you to code, to deploy, test, support your code. For me as a VI admin, the guy who's always using the vCenter, I will be also to provide you with this. I will be able to apply some limits and some resource quotas to the workload that you are using. And more importantly, I'll be able to check the performance of the code. I'll be able to check the like kind of monitoring into what you're exactly deploying, whether it's compliant with our security policies, whether it's being off the limit, perhaps, maybe you are deploying lots of workloads. So the VI admin will have true visibility into what the developer is trying to do. So let's see how we did all of these great stories. I may just skip this because I spoke about it. So this is a different type of workloads and how the developer would like to consume this. So the developer does not care about the vCenter UI and give me the username and password, right click, create a VM. Like for me as a developer, I don't care about this. For me as a developer, I would like to consume everything as a YAML manifest. So perhaps I will create a Kubernetes cluster using this YAML manifest. I can create a pod, which is an like kind of resource inside your Kubernetes definition. I'll consume it like this, and so on and so forth. I'll just skip this and go into the real value. So let's say that today I'm a developer. I'm going to create you, I'm going to need a namespace. So a namespace is kind of a logical definition of what resources I have or the boundaries of resources I have. So inside the namespace, I'll be able to, as a VI operator now, let's say Majid is a developer and he's asking me to have a namespace. I will create for you this namespace as a VI operator, and I will define some resource limits on this namespace. So let's say that I will apply some quality of service that I need this to be high priority. I need this to have this kind of reserved CPU, reserved memory. I need to have these kind of security tools, access control, availability. I'm going to define this. And this namespace could be dedicated to Majid or his team. Let's say I'm going to have another namespace, a third namespace, a fourth namespace. All of these could be different applications. So when we are talking about organization, how to map namespace to the object or to the logical organization inside any enterprise customer today. This could be mapped to like namespace to a team, so mapping to based on the teams, or it could be mapped based on the application. So let's say application A to namespace A, application B, namespace B, and so on and so forth. This is different from organization to another, but for you as a VI operator, you will be able to see all these namespaces from the vCenter, which is very unique value and unique offering that we have with vSphere, with Tanzu. How did we do all of this? So this is like, now I'm talking to an operator. I think most of you guys here in the call are operator. This is the vCenter that you used to manage. This is the vCenter. This is the ESXi clusters. This is how you're going to manage everything. So you used to log into vCenter in order to be able to see these ESXi servers along with the VMs hosted on them. And there was this kind of service that called hostd that is responsible to everything related to the management inside your ESXi and also responsible for reporting back to vCenter communications issues or any other problems. What we have done is that to enable this service, we have injected some services in the vCenter. Like without going into details, but just for you here, if to know, this is a very important one for me, which is Sphere Bundle. So think of Sphere Bundle as a service that will allow you to deploy the kubelets or similar to kubelets on your vSphere. So if you have checking any Kubernetes cluster, you will see that there is this kubelet service. Kubelet service is the one that's responsible to deploy the workload. In our vSphere, we are calling it Spherelet. So the vCenter is going to inject this Spherelet to all the hosts inside the supervisor cluster. So now we have hostd and we have Spherelet. We're going to deploy control VMs. Any Kubernetes cluster will have master VMs and will have worker nodes. So our worker node in that case will be the ESXi servers themselves. While the control plane or the master VMs will be 3 VMs or 3 OVAs, let's call them 3 VMs will be deployed, and these VMs will have some services running inside of them. Some of these services could be familiar to you, like maybe Muhammad, since you have gone through the CKA exam. So any control plane VM will have scheduler or kube scheduler, will have API server, and will have XD. The other service is more of supporting the Tanzu with Kubernetes offering. And another unique value that we are offering is that we are allowing you to run Kubernetes directly on the ESXi server. Same way, like what you used to do with the VMs. So your Kubernetes pods are going to be first-class citizen exactly as the virtual machines. Inside your ESXi server, you could have a CRX pod, or you could have, CRX is kind of like very minimal footprint of a Linux system that will be just used to host your bot. So this is going to be the CRX. So we're also allowing you to run this. And this is what we're calling native bots. So inside the CRX, you will have Linux kernel, container engine, and then your containers. I'll just skip this. And then different bots. So like bot, VMs, what's used to have. This is what we are calling the supervisor cluster. So all these building block is supervisor cluster. Once you enable the WCP for your existing vSphere cluster, I'm gonna show you this in the lab right away because I think we have very limited time left. I may skip some slides just for the sake of demoing this. So once you enable this server in your cluster, I'll show you how it looked like. Your cluster now could be called supervisor cluster. Supervisor cluster means that you have all these servers running inside your vSphere cluster. Any question by far? Okay, I'm gonna continue working on this. So we talked about the concept of namespaces, right? So you have your ESXi layer, and then you have a supervisor cluster once you enable the WCP or this kind of vSphere with Tanzu thing on top of your vSphere cluster. And then there's a very important concept comes for developer, which is namespaces. So this is, like I mentioned, what you're gonna give access to your developer in order to be able to access the workloads. The namespaces will be translated to resource pools inside your vSphere cluster. So if you're gonna be a VI admin, or a vCenter admin, you're going to log into the vCenter and you will be able to find that these namespaces are mapped to resource pools. Within this resource pool, you will be allowed to apply some resource like quota and isolation, like CPU, memory, and storage quotas. I will show you this in the demo. This is the bot service that I mentioned. So the bot service means that you're going to run the bot natively on the ESXi server. The way you do this is just you're gonna kubectl create deployment or kubectl create a bod, and this bod will be natively created on your ESXi server. And if you would like to have a service, this service also will be deployed directly from the NSX. I'm gonna show you this in the demo. This is a very important concept here to understand. And just guys, focus with me here for like 3 minutes. Let's say today that I gave you the solution to deploy the Kubernetes bots natively on your VMs. Challenge with this is that I'm also taking some of the developer freedom out of him. Why? Because whenever a developer would like to create a new namespace, perhaps because he would like to test extra applications or more applications, he would like to reach back to the VI admin in order to create a namespace for him, which is also not the best agile way of development. We are giving with this option here another layer to run Kubernetes inside the namespace that you assigned as a VI operator to the developer. So let's take an example here. Let's say Majid is a developer and he's gonna request a namespace from the vCenter that I manage. Majid is gonna tell me that I need namespace. I'm gonna create the namespace. I'm gonna assign Majid to be able to access this namespace. Majid will do the magic. He's now happy. But then Majid, out of a sudden, he has a new application he would like to test. And this application may require something like a concept called CRD, or custom resource definition. So let's say a CRD is a way to identify some resources in your Kubernetes cluster. So let's say that the out-of-the-box CRDs in Kubernetes, like cluster, replica set, pod, service, I'm just admitting well, sorry for that. Replica set, pod, service, storage class, whatsoever. Let's say that Majid today is going to deploy a Postgres, for instance. And this Postgres is going to be hosted completely in Kubernetes, and it comes with its own CRDs. So maybe instead of replica set or pod, it's going to have Postgres database. It's going to have an instance. It's going to have database replication, whatsoever, right? CRD could be anything. The way it works is completely different topic. I'm not going to cover this now, but think of a CRD as a definition. So it could Majid himself as a name, like Majid, I can create a CRD called Majid, and I need an operator to run this for me. So this is the idea. We are giving a developer a way to create a Kubernetes cluster inside his namespace. And within this Kubernetes cluster, he is not limited at all with the CRDs. So he can run whatever CRDs he would like to consume. He can deploy whatever applications he would like to run whatsoever. There are no limitations here at all. And the way that we are doing this, we are trying to make it also very close to the mindset of a developer. Like we mentioned, the developer would like to use some YAML manifest. So we are also allowing the developer to create this cluster with a YAML manifest. So as you can see here, The developer is going to create like best effort small. This is more of t-shirt sizing for CPU and memory of the VMs, but he would like to have 1 control plane VM and 3 worker nodes. And this is going to be the version, and this is a storage class. So this is all will be like submitted, and the request will be handled by vCenter to deploy Kubernetes cluster for you. This is also a very important and great feature that we have. Any question on this? Okay, I'm just gonna continue. I'll just skip this for now for the sake of the timing. I'll share with you the slide deck. Yeah, so let's now look at this. So what we're gonna have now, let's say you're gonna have your vSphere or SDDC layer. On top of that, you're gonna enable supervisor cluster on some of your clusters. Inside this supervisor cluster, you're gonna create namespaces that the developer will have access to. There will be some service enabled inside your supervisor cluster, and these services will allow you to create the pods. These services will allow you to create the Tanzu Kubernetes build clusters that will have unlimited CRDs. So think of that inside the namespace. You would create your own cluster, and you will be able to consume it directly. For me, this is the most important slide. Like take a screenshot of this slide, guys, because this is really important to remember everything I spoke about today. So the supervisor namespace, this is where me as a VI admin is giving access to you as a developer. vSphere bots, when you're gonna run this vSphere bots natively on your ESXi server. And like I mentioned, this is gonna be a minimal VM based on Linux kernel. Tanzu Kubernetes cluster is where you're gonna, you as a developer, gonna create another Kubernetes cluster inside your namespace. And definitely a supervisor cluster is when you're going to enable the Kubernetes as a concept on the vSphere cluster. So once you enable this, it's going to be called supervisor cluster. I think I'll just skip here the rest of the slides deck. I'll just focus on the demo now. So let me just tell you what we're going to do here. So this is going to be the sequence of what we're exactly doing. Enable Kubernetes service, and like this is a VCSA admin. He's going to log into the vSphere or the vCenter, and he will enable the Kubernetes service in the vSphere. We have done this already. And then we're going to create a namespace, in your case for VMUG team. We're going to apply quota policy, permission policy, storage policy. And then we will be able to consume all these services like data services, VM services, networking service, and registry service. And then you, developer, will be able to communicate using kubectl, which is the CLI command to manage the Kubernetes objects. You will be able then to create here a cluster, and this cluster will, like I mentioned, the one that giving you a limited CRDs limitation or no CRD limitation. So here he's creating a cluster, and let's see how this all look like. So let me know, guys, if you can see my remote desktop here. So yeah, do you see this? Do you see my vCenter now?
Yes, okay, Muhammad.
Okay, very good. So just let me log out, log in again, and see how all these look like. It's a bit slow, honestly, and this lab in the US, so sorry for that. So I'm just logging again. This is me as a VI admin, okay? Very well. So this is definitely vCenter 7 and vSphere 7. So this feature is not going to work with 6.7. For 6.7 or 6.5, there are other solutions that we may consider, but to have this kind of vSphere with Tanzu, namespaces, concepts, and all of this, this is a vSphere 7 product or vSphere 7 feature. So what I'm going to do, the first step to enable this kind of configuration on my cluster, I'm going to go to menu, workload management, and here I will be able to add a cluster. Like I mentioned, we do support 2 options now. We do support if you have NSXT, and we do support if you have a VDS. So this is something that we do support. I'm just gonna hit next. Here, I will not have any compatible clusters because the cluster has been already enabled for Kubernetes. But usually, like you will see your cluster here, and then you will proceed with some networking for, let's say, the control plane size. Let me show you this for the already existing cluster. So let's see here that host and cluster, this is my cluster. If I'm gonna go to configure, under namespaces here, you will see some of the configuration I used to enable this. So the size of my control plane VMs, and you can see here 3 VMs. So always there are 3 control plane VMs deployed. And these are the 3 VMs, so 1, 2, 3. Size of them are small. I'm connecting to a content library. I'll explain to you what does the content library do exactly. I have some network configuration. So I have management network, and I have also workload network. And for the workload network, there are 2 important values here, ingress and egress. And this is how you can communicate with the service. So ingress is a range that will be consumed for your workload service. So let's say that you're going to deploy a service inside your Kubernetes cluster. This is where you're going to define or going to consume IPs from this. Service sider and both sider are also very important for the internal communications on the cluster level or the Kubernetes cluster level. And DNS and edge cluster, this is with NSX. Storage, okay, it's very slow now, I'm sorry for that. The storage is very important because we define a storage policy, and this storage policy will be inside your Kubernetes cluster, where you will be able to create your pods. And there's some concept of Kubernetes, if you are familiar with it, called persistent volume and persistent volume claims. The persistent volume claims will claim some volumes from any storage that is compatible with the storage policy defined here. So let's say that you're going to have a persistent volume claim that claim 2 GB of a storage policy that runs Pacific Gold storage policy, as you can see here, if you're familiar with the concept. Very well, very good. So let's say now I have a request from a new developer. I need to create a new namespace for this developer. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go here to workload management. And I will just go to namespaces. I will create a new namespace. I'll give it a name called, sorry for that, just very slow. And I'm gonna call it Kuwait, for instance, or whatever name that I can write. Once I created Kuwait, you will see I'm able here, like you will see the status it's running, Kubernetes is active. I'll be able to add some permissions. It's just a bit slow, which is not the normal, sorry for that. So for me, I'm using the vSphere.local domain or the SSO. I'm gonna give the administrator access. And I'll give him that he can edit. I'll define a storage policy as well. I'm very sorry, team. It's very slow here, so sorry for that. So let's say here I'm going to define this storage policy, Pacific Gold. This is the one I have. Please check it. I just need to check if I have a VPN enabled. No, I don't. Not sure why it doesn't. Let me share my screen again. Sorry for that. Okay, so here it shows the storage policy. Here I can set some limits on CPU, memory, and storage, but I'm not going to do this. So here I can set some limits. I'm just going to skip this. So I created the namespace. How the developer will be able to access this namespace? I'm going to share with him a URL that he can use to access this. How to get this URL? Again, from the same menu, go to clusters, the control plane node IP, this IP. So let's see what this IP give us. So here, HTTPS, I think it is, you will see here that there is a new interface being available, and this is the developer will be able to access. He will be able to download a plugin called kubectl plus vSphere plugin. And this plugin is a plugin that will be responsible for like logging to the control plane Kube API server inside your vCenter. So this is the tool that your developer will be using to communicate with the same APIs, and it does support Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So let me see you here, show you how it's gonna work. So here I'm a developer. Let me just clear. I think it's very, like, you cannot see, right? Let me just try to. Yeah, certainly it's very slow today. This is not the expected, and now it's not responding even, so sorry for that. I'll just try to make it look larger. Let me know if that's better. So do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So let me tell you how it's gonna look like. So kubectl vSphere login -- vSphere username administrator. In your case, it could be the developer at vSphere.local or the developer at domain.local -- server. This is the same server that we use to get the tool from. And I'm just gonna skip the insecure skip, like for the TLS verification. I'm just gonna skip this. And I'm just gonna hit enter. It will ask me for the password of this user. Once you enter the password, you will be able to see all the namespaces created inside your vCenter, but you will not have access to all of them. You will have access to only the cluster that you created. So let me, sorry, to the namespaces that have been created for you, or you have access to them. So just to change the context, it's just telling you here, you have seen all the namespaces, just to check which one you have access to or which one you should change the context to. So I'm just using here a Linux tool called kubectx. This will change the context directly. And here I am. So kubectl get pods -a. This is all the pods deployed inside my supervisor cluster. There are too many, ignore that. Kubectl get pods 0, nothing in the default namespace. The default namespace is called default. Let's see if we can deploy an application here. So let's say I have an application called VI Kubernetes or Hello Kubernetes, which is a very basic one. This application is gonna like type load balancer, so it will need an IP. I'm gonna explain how we get the IP. It's a deployment, 2 replicas, and Hello Kubernetes, some other configuration. It lives in port 8080. Let's deploy this and see how it's gonna act from the vCenter. So kubectl apply -f hello Kubernetes. You can see here it has been created. Let's see in vCenter how it looked like. Back to, yeah, the vCenter here. Oh, sorry, not this one. So I think it is this one. Yeah. So let me just go here to running. Yeah. So you will see that there are some execution being done now. And this is exactly what I was speaking about the CRX VMs. So what's happening now is that 2 minimal VMs are being deployed because I mentioned 2 replicas in my Kubernetes YAML file. So 2 VMs are being deployed now. Just let me check what is the status. So let's keep it open from here and there. So let's just do it that way. So watch kubectl get pods. Oh, the command is incorrect. Sorry for that. Kubectl. Okay, so we have a problem with error image pulling, and if you can guess, I think this is because if a problem with Docker is limiting the number of pulling per day that you can get, and I've been testing this in my home lab a lot, or this lab a lot, so maybe my IB is a bit blocked now, but that's not a bad idea to troubleshoot. So let me just show you. kubectl get bod dash hyphen YAML. Yeah, you will see too many requests. This is a problem. So this is a problem with Docker. So it's not something I can control, unfortunately, because all these images are deployed in Docker. So let me just try this and show you from my lab directly. But you got the idea. Like I'm just deploying here this hello Kubernetes bod, and this hello Kubernetes bod eventually should be two replicas. Let me just delete this. Okay, so -f hello Kubernetes. Where we are. So what I created, I'm just going to delete it because it will try to fetch the image, and it's a problem with Docker, not something I can do. But let me show you here. So I created this one before you guys joined me. I created this hello Kubernetes exactly the same, and it has been created. Let me just switch to this namespace called vMUG and show you how it's going to look like. So let's just wait for this to be deleted. Oh man. Okay, ignore it for now. I'll just ignore it. Let's say now I'm gonna switch to vMUG. And here I'm gonna do the same command, kubectl get bods. I should see that Kubernetes are running. I hope so. Yes, so both of them are running here. Let's see what is the service. So kubectl get svc. And this is going to be my IP address for hello Kubernetes. So this is the service.
Mohammed, just to clarify to the people looking at this demo, what you've been doing in the command line is usually done by the developer, right?
Correct.
And not the vSphere admin or the operator of the vSphere platform.
That's absolutely right. So let me tell you, as a vSphere admin, what I'm going to see here. As a vSphere admin, I'm going to see that there is a namespace called vMUG. I will explain what this bumblebee icon means. So this is more of the Tanzu Kubernetes grid that I mentioned. I'm going to show you this as well. And this is the bot. So this is what I've created. For you, it appears as a minimum VM. But if you're going to go here to the namespaces, you're going to go to monitor. You will see that the Kubernetes TKG created. You will be able to see vSphere bot. So you can see the YAML that the developer had been submitted. You can see this for you as a vSphere admin. You can see the deployment. You can see the daemon set if there is any replica set, jobs, whatsoever. You could also see if there are storage policies deployed. This is the one I'm using. You could also see that there are some secrets. You can see persistent volume claims. You can see networks like services being created, like for instance, the same IB that you can use. All of this can be done. Let me just take one step backward and see how this all works. So this all works, the IPs are coming from the NSX in that case. Honestly speaking, I'm not sure about the IP of the NSX in this environment. Let me just try to get real quick for you. This is kind of a nested setup, and it's very slow. So sorry for that. So NSX UA, this is going to be the NSX IP. Let's see here if this works. This is going to be my NSX. I know I'm going beyond my time now. I'm sorry for that, but I think it's worth watching this. So just oh la la, has been locked. Yeah, so I will not be able to.
It's okay, Muhammad.
Oh, sir.
It's okay, Muhammad. Let's have any questions from attendees about this session or about this Kubernetes.
Yeah, I would like to hear more feedback from the team.
Yeah, hi Muhammad. This is Sheikh Saeed with you from UBG in Kuwait. Muhammad, as I saw that it is a new feature added to the vSphere management. So Tanzu is going to be an additional license, or it is going to be a part of the release 7, vCenter 7?
So the feature can be enabled on the vSphere 7, but we have bundled this with the existing vSphere Enterprise Plus license. So to make it more easy for customers to start using this, we have kind of a new bundle, let's say, license that will include the vSphere Enterprise Plus and the vSphere with Tanzu. Like, I would not speak about pricing, but it's almost the same. So if you're gonna buy today vSphere Enterprise Plus, definitely reach out to Majid. He will help you with this. But start thinking about vSphere with Tanzu, because if you're gonna receive a code from VMware, they're gonna be the same from most of the cases we have worked on. We want you to start using this because we believe as a company that helped you all the way to get your VMs up and running. We believe that you will also need Kubernetes workload. So we need you to start adopting this.
Okay, as you mentioned that the Kubernetes service clusters, supervisor cluster will be able to manage the Kubernetes pods on cloud and other Kubernetes installation also. So we are expecting here any Red Hat Kubernetes installation or any Amazon based installations can be seed, means like can be monitored or checked from the same vSphere console.
That's a very good question. So the answer is no. Like if you have Red Hat or any other type of Kubernetes portfolio and it's hosted in vSphere, it will be shown only as VMs like any other workloads. The only exception to this is when you have vSphere with Tanzu, we are giving you as a VI operator better functionality to monitor this because it's all integrated as part of the vCenter features, and the vCenter is more aware into the Kubernetes workloads you are running. And this is an exclusive feature to vSphere with Tanzu.
Okay. It's really a good one. Tanzu from VMware will be more trustable or more acceptable compared to other vendors. I believe those who are very familiar with the VMware environment would like to go with Tanzu. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you have any ongoing, like if you're working on something, like definitely reach out to Majid. He would help you at least to start like work on this and see what is the best way to start your journey. So definitely we are here to help you with your plans on adopting Kubernetes. So where we were, like just one final thing. So when we talked about the security, how the workloads, how the load balancer and all of this are getting generated. So with the with the enablement of the WCP cluster or having your supervisor cluster enabled, you're going to have a stack of configuration inside your NSX, which is T0 and T1 and some segments. So you will see here some like T1s are created, one per supervisor cluster. So this is obvious here. And there will be some logical switches also created. And the way we do this is that we're gonna take the range you defined for your bots network, and we're gonna like do CIDR or subnetting this to /14 or like 14 addresses, so /28.
Hi, Mohammed. Is this the place where you are assigning some sort of like a range of IPs that Kubernetes or the pods, if I may say, will take it? I mean,
Yeah.
usually when we create a VM, we assign the VLAN to it from the vSphere itself. So in this case, how do you do that?
Yeah, so this is a very, very good question. So the way that these segments are working, these segments will be assigned to namespaces. So what you do here is that at the initial configuration, let me just go back to this. So workload cluster configure, let's go to network. If you're gonna go to network addresses here, if you're gonna take this one, 10.244.0/20, you will see that what we are doing here is that we are subnetting this. So .0.1/28, 0.33/28, 97/28. We are taking this like slicing this big subnet you defined for the bot, and we are making logical switches based on this. And these network.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you here, but what if I want to tag a VLAN ID to it? How would you do that?
What do you mean by tagging a VLAN?
Like, for example, I know that you're taking one big subnet and slicing it to, let's say, multiple subnets from the same one, from .0, you're just slicing it up. But what if I would like to do like, I want to do a VLAN ID, let's say 51, and that 51 should have a range of 10.11.14, for example. So how do you tag the VLAN ID to the Kubernetes or to the pod itself?
Very good. So let me show you here this network overview just to give you, network topology, just to give you kind of a brief idea. So we have here 20 segments. These 20 segments mean logical switches, okay? And this is something that is based in Geneva encapsulation. So your VLAN will be on this area, like above the T0. This is gonna be your VLANs. All of what's happening there, this is Geneva encapsulation. So what happened here is that all these segments are gonna be connected to the T0, but in order to communicate to any bots running in these segments, like 10.244.0/2, for instance, in order to be able to reach this bot, you are not communicating with the bot directly, you are communicating with the bot through a nating rule. So this nat rule will be there to help you communicate with the bot and also through a service. So you have defined a service, let's say like what we did with Kubernetes. So if you remember this, hello Kubernetes .66, let me tell you how it looked like. So where's that? Just a moment. I think it will be that one. That's 66. Do you see it? Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So this is going to be the IP, okay? So this is IP, and this is going to be a layer 4 load balancer, a very basic one. But if you check here, the virtual servers coming from this IP and, sorry, server pool, not virtual server. Let's see, hello Kubernetes. Hello. Yeah, so which one is this? I think it will be that one. You will see that these are the two bots, right? Like 10.244.118 and 119. So you are communicating with these service through two steps. A load balancer service being created, and this load balancer service will be translated to an ingress or let's say netting role created inside your NSX. So just to answer your question, these pods are not routed. They are not routable. These pods are more of nated. And this is what we have today in the architecture. And I haven't seen, honestly, like if you're gonna use any other CNI, like here we're using NCP, but if we're gonna use something like Calico, most of what I've seen is customer using IB and IB. Haven't seen the BGP and Calico being used a lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Noah, for your question. I have another question, Muhammad, regarding the CNI for the Kubernetes in Tanzu. Before, if we have NSX in our environment, what is the CNI that we will use, NSX or Antrea?
That's $1 million question. That's a very good question. So it depends on the version, and there are lots of changes here. So for the supervisor cluster, if you have NSX and you want to host what we talked about here, which is like Hello Kubernetes, for instance, this is going to NCP. So let me show you this. Yeah, I think here, let's say kubectl gets pods -a grab NCP. Yeah, so you will find here a namespace called VMware System NSX, and you have the NSX NCP running. So this is inside your supervisor cluster. Inside your guest cluster, which is this cluster that I will show you how I created it. Inside this guest cluster, you can define either Calico or Entrea. And the way I created this is just by doing here this file. So I defined here a YAML file called tkg_ns_nsx. What is the version, the number of control plane node, the class, and I defined here the CNI. So here I'm creating Calico. The reason I'm using Calico here is that because my vCenter is not up to date, so I have the option to use Calico or Entrea. Entrea was introduced in vSphere 7 update 1. So mine is not vSphere 7 update 1. So I'm just saying I'm using Calico here. But we do support Calico, we do support Entrea, and there's other big initiatives being worked on as well to bring your own CNI. Okay. This is something that we are working on. Okay. So just for the sake of timing here, I know we are way beyond the allotted time. So what I've done here is just I created this cluster. So this is going to create a cluster, which is TKC NSX cluster here. Let me just connect to this cluster, and I think this is going to be the end of my demo. So kubectl, I just want you remember this, kubectl get nodes. This is how it looked like when I'm logging to the supervisor cluster. So 3 master nodes is supervisor plane 1, 2, 3. And the worker nodes here is going to be the ESXi servers themselves. Why is that? Because they have this component I mentioned, or this service called vSphere or SFH. So this is where it makes your ESXi cluster works as a Kubernetes worker. Just let me now connect to the new created cluster called TKC NSX. So just the way to do it, same command that we used to log into the supervisor cluster. Just I'm going to add here an attribute at the end, Tanzu Kubernetes cluster name, TKC-NSX in my case. kubectx TKC-NSX kubectl get nodes. Oh man. Yep. So here we're going to see 2 nodes only. One of them is not ready because I think my environment is not acting very well lately. So just you can see here, this is the 2 nodes, like control plane and a worker. And I can, you can, let's say if you want to upscale this or you want to scale it out, you want to add more nodes. What I'm going to do, for instance, here is just, I will just do this. So I'm going to open the file, and instead of 1 here, I'm just going to make the worker 2. And I'm going to reapply the file. Same exactly like what you're doing with your Kubernetes objects. So apply -f tkg cluster. Maybe it will not work now because, yeah, so just a moment, kubectx vmug. Yeah, so it's configured, but it's not ready, so I'm not sure if it's going to work. But if it's working, yeah, you will see here there is a deployment going on to the, like, add 1 more worker node to the cluster. So this deployment will work on. And this brings me to a very important concept as well that I skipped. You see here that it fetches something from content library. So what is this content library? This content library is where you're going to have all your Kubernetes images that is being used for the deployment. So here I configure this, and inside this library, you would see different versions. So you will see version 16.8, 17.7, 18.5, 16.4, like different versions are there. You can just check which version you would like to have in the YAML manifest here. When you type vi tkg cluster.yaml. If you can see here the version, here I'm choosing 18.5, but you can choose any other version if you would like. All of this is supported. So once you are in this cluster, which is TKC, you will have better option here, like you can deploy whatever CRDs you would like to have. So whatever you want to deploy, you can do that. Again, terminating here, what you see is not healthy, but in general, everything should be working fine here. The NSX also will be responsible to deploy your Kubernetes services. So if you want to check that, it's also available here. And you will see here that inside my load balancer, there is a new load balancer created for my TKC and NSX. Like the namespace, the name of the cluster, and then a load balancer. And inside this, there are two workload being created. I think I created a WordPress. So I think I created WordPress. Oh, so I think one of them will be, this could be WordPress, I'm not sure. Let me just double check. No, it's not. But I created WordPress, like maybe it's somewhere else. Yeah, WordPress, sorry. Like I just skipped real quick, but I created that. So if you're just gonna check here, so yeah, like kubectl, kubectl, get svc -a, and you will see this is a WordPress for me. And this WordPress also have kind of persistent volume. So if you would like to see kubectl get pvc -a, you will see that I have created two persistent volumes. These two persistent volumes, one is being used by WB, one is being used by the WordPress, and one is being used by the MySQL. And I think there's a way to see this from the vCenter. So if you're gonna go to, I think monitor and go down there, there's something called containers volume that was a feature added recently. Yeah, container volumes. You should be able to see something here. Let's check how it looked like. I haven't played with that that often, but yeah, you would see here that there are two. The most important here thing is the label. So this is for app WordPress. I think if you're gonna check more, you could say which one is for MySQL and which one is for yeah. So this one is for MySQL, and I bet you this one is for the WordPress. This is also a very nice way. And there is also a nice way, like if there is kind of orphaned data stores here or orphaned VVCs, you can clear them as well, so that you have your environment healthy. So this is very important value, also added value for you as a BI admin to be able to control all the persistent volumes being created. I think that's it for my demo. Like, I think it was good. I'm really happy to have you guys, and really happy. I hope it met your expectations, and I hope you found this useful. We are more than happy to help you. We are more than happy to hear more about your plans on how you're gonna modernize your applications. It's not just something you're gonna do between a day and night. It's something that will take time, something that will take planning. The good thing is that we're always here to support you. You have a very close colleague of mine and a very close friend, Majid Halish in Kuwait. He definitely can support you. Reach out to him. Majid, like for those who does not know you, can you just post your phone number and your email address on the chat so that anyone can reach you if they have any question?
Sure, I'll post it now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Majid. And if you have any question for me, guys, like feel free to reach out to me. I'm just also gonna post my email address. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any question. I'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you, Muhammad, very much for your amazing session as usual.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our time is
Appreciate it.
so tight in this session. Sorry, we will move to the second session with Mr. Badr from Roomcast. And there will be
Thank you.
another raffle after this session.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, Muhammad, for the excellent session, Muhammad. I think the audience really enjoyed it. Muhammad, can you make me the host presenter now?
Sure. Thank you, Badr. So I made Muhammad the presenter. So like,
okay.
Badr. Okay. So I'm gonna Muhammad. Can you make it because I moved the host privilege to you? So just can you move it to Badr? Thank you guys again. Like I really appreciate being here with you. I think I will need to drop now because it's too late for me. It's almost 10:30 here, and tomorrow I have to go to Abu Dhabi for a customer meeting. So thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. You have a good one. Thank you, Majid, and thank you, Badr and Muhammad, for organizing this.
Have you sent? Can you move it from your side still?
No, you are the host now.
Okay.
So you will see next to your name, you are the host. Just go to Badr and make him a host or co-host.
Okay, yes, Badr, you are now host.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you.
Good luck, Badr, for your session.
Thank you, Salem.
Muhammad.
Excellent session.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Muhammad, can you make sure you're able to see my screen? Just help me with...
Okay, yes, now your screen is...
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I know we have overshot our time, but I'm going to be very quick and hopefully wrap it up within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So for those of you who are not familiar with Runecast, just a single line, our job is to make a VMware administrator's life easy. Spend less time troubleshooting and more time innovating. So my name is Badr. Runecast is based out of UK, and I cover the whole of Middle East. So, I assume most of you are on the VMware admin side. If you're not on the admin side, probably you're involved in some way or the other with the VMware infrastructure. So as an admin or as a manager, these are probably the challenges that you look at every day. There's a lot of information available and you tend to use it reactively. From time to time, health checks need to be done and you need to perform it manually. Or maybe you're carrying out an upgrade and you need to make sure that you have adhered to the best practices. Last but not the least, you have a lot of logs and sometimes this is available. In summary, when you have a problem in your VMware environment, you tend to spend a lot of time troubleshooting. Yes, you may have the best of support from VMware, from the engineers, from the partners, but still some time is spent on troubleshooting. I'm sure most of you would agree with that. And what would you do the first time when you have a problem? You tend to Google for the answer. Maybe there is an error number and you try to Google it or try to search for it, or maybe you open a support case straight away with the VMware support team and they ask you for logs, etc. So a considerable amount of time is spent. So what was behind Runecast? The idea behind our company was that, there are some known issues which have already been documented in the VMware database. I'm sure most of you have come across these KB articles, say KB ID 1004424. This relates to a VMware heap size, a very common issue, and you have the answer for it in the database. Another one related to maybe vulnerabilities. So you have, as of today, in the VMware database, over 30,000 KB articles which relate to some issues which have occurred and resolution to most of them. This is the idea behind Runecast. Why not we take this information available already in the database and make your life easy? So today, as it stands, I mean, this is just a general figure. 90% of the problems, you can find the answers to them in the VMware database. Now, where in the VMware database would you find the answers? VMware knowledge base, like I said, There are more than 30,000 articles. I'm sure most of you have seen the best practices. So the answer could be there that you have not followed some particular best practice. You have the VMware security guide, again, which is a Bible of information. Maybe the problem is there. Or last but not the least, the VMware hardware compatibility list. Just to make it interactive, I hope all of you are familiar with these sources of information.
Yes, some of them, yes.
Okay, great. So let's move on. So just to recap, Mohammed, for the audience, the knowledge base, the best practices, the security hardening guide, and the hardware compatibility. This is the first place that you would tend to find the answers to your problem. Very likely 90% of your issues, the answers would be in one of these four places. Yeah. Now, just to compare with other solutions, we are not a monitoring solution. You know, we don't monitor performance or capacity or alert you when there is an issue. What we do is we focus on configuration. And what we believe is that if you have got your configuration right, 80% of the issues are configuration based and you're related. We pinpoint you the issue and we give you what exactly is the answer to it. A very easy to set up and very easy to use solution, doesn't take much time to deploy, and I will be showing that to the demo. So what is our solution? In summary, our solution will check for your VMware infrastructure. And when I say VMware infrastructure, we will check for vSphere, vSAN, NSXT or NSXV Horizon, and we will compare it with the VMware knowledge base, the VMware best practice, the security standards, hardware compatibility list, and tell you if you have missed out something. And by the way, today's session was a lot about Tanzu and Kubernetes. We also check for Kubernetes best practices. So again, like I said, we check for any missing elements in the knowledge base. We check for best practices, security hardening, for hardware compatibility. If you are using SAP HANA or Pure Storage on VMware, we will check whether you have followed the best practices on that. And for those of you who are into compliance standard, like if you're a bank, you might be interested in PCI check. Is my VMware infrastructure compliant with PCI? Or if you're in the healthcare sector with HIPAA standards or CIS, NIST, ISO 27000, we check whether you are compliant with these standards or not. Yeah. So this is a very quick overview of the architecture. We would need you to have a virtual machine, a VMware virtual machine. We install on a virtual machine. It's just a 1 GB OVA. Once installed, the only thing that we need to do is to connect to your vCenter, or if you have NSXT, we need to connect to that. Or if you're using Horizon, we connect to that. And we need to get updates from the internet. Now, what are these updates? These updates, basically, we have a team in our repository. This is our development team sitting in Europe. What we do, what our development team does is we look at the VMware knowledge base. As and when a KB article is released, normally VMware tends to have a KB article once in 7 days, or a best practice announced in line with the new hardware, or if there is a malware threat, or if there is a security bulletin, there would be an update in the security guide. So we check what's the latest update in the VMware knowledge base. We take this information, and instead of you reading manually and checking one by one, we use artificial intelligence to parse that language, pass it to our analyzer. Our analyzer uses this information from the VMware knowledge base, scans your vSphere infrastructure, and points out to you exactly where you have missed out or which particular KB article or best practices you have adhered to. So I hope I'm clear. Any questions so far? Yeah. Okay, so as I mentioned, Runecast appliance is just a 1 GB OVA, install, connect to vCenter and analyze in minutes. This is a look at our dashboard, and I will take you now very quickly through the demo. Mohammed, if you could just make sure you're able to see my demo screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so if you go to our website, we have a nice online demo. When you click online demo, all that you would need is to register yourself, and then you can access the demo. So this is my this is our Runecast lab. In this lab, you can see our dashboard. It's just coming up. Yeah. So this dashboard has a lot of information over here. Just to let you know what we have in our lab, we have a couple of vCenters. We also have a Kubernetes environment. We have an AWS environment. So this is available in our lab. The only thing that you need to do once you install our appliance, you would need to go to settings. Yeah. If you have a vCenter, you need to add, provide the IP address, etc. If you are using NSXT, provide that. If you're using VMware Cloud Director, attach that. Or if you're using Horizon, connect that. So once this connection is done, let me go back to the dashboard. What you would have is, you will have a full overview of your environment. Now, before I go to the overview of the environment, let me show you this download free trial button. You would actually have an analyze button over here. So once it's installed, you will analyze your infrastructure. The analysis, let's say you have even 100 hosts or 200 hosts, will be over in a matter of minutes, maximum 3 minutes, even if you have 1,000 or 2,000 hosts. In each minute, we make over 30,000 configuration checks. Yeah. Now, what are these checks? Whether you have followed some KB article or best practices. So that fast, we analyze your environment and generate this report. Now, in order to give you a full understanding of how I got this dashboard, if you remember, I told you, if on my left-hand side, you can see configuration KB, best practice, security, compliance, and hardware. So first thing first, when we did the scan, we checked for whether you have adhered to all the KB articles related to your environment. Now remember, I told you that as of today, there are over 30,000 KB articles. Now, obviously, you're not going to read all of that, and you would be interested in only those KB articles which impact your environment, are related to your environment. So if you see here, when I did my scan, these are the KB articles which Runecast has recommended me to follow. Now, KB articles go by severity. So you have critical, you have major, medium. Let's say I'm interested only in the critical KB articles. And let's say I'm interested in only those KB articles which are related to security. Yeah. And let's say I'm interested only in the vSphere environment. So here I will have an overview of which KB articles VMware recommends us to follow. So normally you would read this KB articles and follow it, or VMware would advise you to follow this KB article. But using our tool over here, our scan would tell you that these are the KB articles recommended. So if you click this plus sign here, you will have a link to the KB article VMware website and the whole resolution. I hope this clarifies what exactly we are doing over here. We look at your environment and tell you what KB articles you need to follow to avoid future issues. Similarly, when we go to the best practices, again, as you know, there are so many best practices. Let's say you're interested only in the critical best practices. Yeah. So you will have a full list of best practices which are recommended. As you can see over here, most of these best practices have failed in this environment. You can see here some have passed. So those which have failed are the recommended ones. Now, it says critical over here, you have the link over here, and you have the full description of best practices. KB articles, best practices. These two things, as it stands today, you would read it manually, and here we have automated that part. Again, when I go now to the security compliance tab, the first thing you would be interested is the VMware security guidelines. Yeah. So same way, we will tell you which security guidelines you need to check out and follow too. If you are a bank, you would be interested in PCI DSS compliance. And as those of you who are familiar with PCI, you have milestone in PCI. So let's say you are following milestone 2 in PCI. So here are the missing elements you can see to help you comply with PCI. And when you click the plus sign, you can see what exactly is the recommendation of PCI that you need to follow. If you are a hospital, we help you with HIPAA compliance. Yeah, so you can see what is recommended for the HIPAA compliance. I don't think anyone from the hospital is here today, so I'll skip that. Then if you are interested in the Center of Internet Security Standard, especially if you're a bank and you are following that, again, we will check that for you. If you are interested in NIST, the National Institute of Security Technologies, we will check that for you. And last but not the least, for those of you who are following ISO 27001 compliance, we will automate that check for you. No need for you to read and manually check what is going on in your environment, how you would comply. So that was about the security compliance. My apologies, I'm going fast in the interest of time. And last but not the least is the hardware compatibility. So for those of you who are familiar with VMware's HCL, the hardware compatibility list, you have a huge Bible of information. Let's say you're using Dell PowerEdge, and if you want to run vSphere 6.7 or say some NSXT, there is a recommended hardware. So when we did the scan, my Runecast analyzer will automatically tell you if the version of vSphere or vSAN you're running complies with the environment. So if there is a tick, it means you have complied. If there is a question mark, if I click this, you will have the database. Here is your actual database, the host data. And here you can see the HCL VMware recommended data. Here what you can see, you have not complied with the BIOS recommended by VMware. And it will give you the list of BIOS standard. Another interesting feature over here is, let's say that you are now running vSphere 6.7. And obviously most of you would be moving to vSphere 7. You can simulate over here against your existing environment. And you can find out over here whether your current hardware is ready or not for the VMware environment. Yeah. So a very quick scan would tell you exactly how compliant your environment is in the hardware. So we have looked at the KB article, best practices, security compliance, and hardware compatibility. So now when I go to my main dashboard, you can find that we have summarized your environment, how many KB articles you have not followed. So you have 135 KB articles which are severe, and you need to look at what is your security compliance standard, what is your best practice adoption. You can have an issue history. Let's say today you did a scan, and then after some time you resolve the issue, you can do a scan again and do a comparison. You can see by every host how many issues you have, and you can see what are the best practices adoption. So if I go back to my presentation, so yeah, that was a quick demo, and just let me recap the presentation. Yeah, we have fully REST API enabled. For those of you who are used to the vSphere web client, you can also have it on the vSphere web client. For those of you who use vRealize orchestrator, we can integrate with that, and you can carry out remediation for the allowable security profiles. And in summary, just to summarize, for those of you who are vExperts over here, we offer a 1-year free NFR. The live demo I have showed you on my lab, and you can also request for a 30-day trial license from it. So that's about it, Mohammed, from my side. Very quick, very fast. For those of you who are interested in detail, please contact me. My email is over here and I'll be available for a demo. So any questions, gentlemen, before we move to the raffle draw?
Thank you very much, Badr. Thank you for your session. And
any questions?
Any questions?
I'm just saying over here who all is present, Mohammed. Gents, we have a raffle draw. The raffle draw is for 10 KD for a voucher. Yeah, Mohammed, you want to?
You can, anyone in the queue?
I see many people have left. So the raffle draw is for those who are in the list. So I can see.
Oh, can give me the control. I have the names.
Can you see the screen, Mohammed? I have all the names over here.
Okay. I think Nawar has disconnected and connect again, but can you admit him?
I cannot admit him, Mohammed.
Now you are the host. You can admit.
Okay, let me see. Let me see. So, where do I admit, Mohammed?
In participants, you can see admit.
Okay. No, I cannot see the admit, Mohammed. Can you see my screen, by the way? Yeah.
Yes.
I hope
Okay.
You can
yes.
see.
Go on.
It's okay.
Yes.
They have admitted.
No, it's okay. I cannot, but we because our time is so tight here, so we can start this raffle.
Okay. Let me just see who's there. While Salim. Any questions, gentlemen? While Sunil, Sheikh, Rami, Haytham, Ali. Okay, Mohammed, I think this is what we have now here.
Okay.
So, can I go ahead, Mohammed?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you all. So these are the attendees over here. My apologies if I have missed out anybody. Could you please speak out if you have missed out anybody?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. So I'm spinning the wheel and right.
Yes.
Okay.
Sunil.
Sunil Kumar. Sunil Kumar, please can you put your email and contact number in the chat and we will mail you the voucher. I assume, Sunil, you're based in Qatar?
Sunil, can you unmute yourself?
Nawar is back. Yeah, Nawar is back.
Yeah. Sunil?
Sunil, can you unmute yourself? Looks like he's not there.
Yes, you can make it again because we have to choose one from Kuwait.
Sunil, Mohammed, Sunil, did you say yes? Okay, Mohammed, shall I make it again because we want it from Kuwait?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm making it again. Well, Mohammed, I think Sunil, are you there? Looks like Mohammed. Okay, I'm doing it again, Mohammed.
Okay.
I have to remove Sunil. He's not there. Okay. Sheikh Said, I know he's definitely there in Kuwait.
Yes, hi, Muhammad, Badr, and Muhammad. I'm here.
Okay, please share your email on the chat, and Badr will send you the
Okay.
gift.
Okay,
Thank you, Sheikh. I have his email anyway, but thank you, Sheikh. Thank you, Rami. Thank you, Nawar. Thank you, Ali and Wael.
Thank you
For all
for
of you
your
for staying till
attending
the end.
and for this session, and wait for the recording session within few days on our website, on VMUG community or on our YouTube channel.
Any questions, gentlemen, before we wind up? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all, Muhammad. Thank you.